If you're looking for an affordable, well-made set of control arms to complement the 2 to 4 inch lift kit on your Tacoma, then this kit will be exactly what you're after. Featuring plenty of angle to accommodate that lift, plus uprated bushings and ball joints, high quality construction, and a little bit of color, these will stand up to everything you can throw their way without breaking the bank. Now, just a quick note on fitment here before we get in too deep. These are designed to fit 2005 through 2023 6-lug Tacomas that have been lifted between 2 and 4 inches. So you must have a 2 to 4 inch lift kit in order for these to work properly, as they are not designed to work on a stock height truck. Control arms may not be the most exciting of mods, but they are the key to getting your lifted truck driving properly and safely. Now, the number one key feature here is, of course, the angle of the ball joint. As you can see, these are angled a bit more than your stock ones, so even with the additional height in the front end, these are gonna sit and move just like Toyota originally intended. So there's no binding, no alignment issues, even with that lift, and you're gonna get all the articulation that you need. And without getting into geometry, because that was not my strongest subject in school, having your suspension geometry be correct will go a long way to making sure that your truck can be aligned accurately so you don't suffer from excessive suspension or tire wear, and so that you can drive the truck safely. If you are going off-road, you're gonna find that your truck handles better and can be pointed down the trail more accurately. Now, the ball joints themselves are similar to your originals, but these ones are greasable. So you can just pop the cap right here on the top off, and using the integrated Zerk fitting, add some more grease to extend their life. You're also gonna find new sleeved polyurethane bushings that go at the pivot points. Now, these will have less flex than your stock rubber bushings. That's gonna provide you with more control and better response when you hit a bump or turn the wheel. The tubular design of the arms themselves also means additional strength to go with the additional articulation. So these will definitely be stronger than your factory arms. When it comes to the construction, these things are pretty darned solid. The arms are made from DOM carbon steel tubing that has this red powder coat finish over top to protect the material from corrosion and rust. There are gussets welded into the pivot points and at the ball joint here too for additional strength. Now, those poly bushings at the pivot joints and the new ball joints are all greasable thanks to the included Zerk fittings, so they are going to have a nice long lifespan as well. So, as has been the theme of this whole video, these are built for strength and should last you a good long while. Pricing comes in at about $300 for the pair, and that does put them on the more affordable side of the spectrum. If you want a set of solid control arms and don't want to spend a fortune, these are your answer. The construction speaks to that strength, and it's made all the better by the reasonable price. Installation gets a 2 out of 3, and the job should take you about 2 hours to complete. Now, these are designed to bolt right in place of your stock arms, so aside from the lift kit, you don't need to make any modifications to the truck in order to get these fitted. And they can easily be removed should you need to return your truck back to stock. This is a pretty straightforward job, just one that will require some time and patience. So with that, let's head on out to the shop and we'll walk you through it step by step.
Tools required for this install include a grease gun, impact gun, clip remover tool, 10 and 19 millimeter wrenches, 19 millimeter ratcheting wrench, a rubber mallet and a hammer, an extension, swivel adapter, 10, 12, and 19 millimeter swivel sockets, 10, 17, 19, and 22 millimeter sockets, needle nose pliers, and a pry bar.
Today we're installing upper control arms on our Tacoma, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is pop off our 2 covers. They're just held on by a bunch of clips. We're missing a couple down here, but you can just take a clip remover tool, just get up behind it, pop it out. We'll do that same thing over here. Got one connected to the side of the strut tower. Next, we'll remove our brake line bracket on the upper control arm using a 10 millimeter socket. Now we're going to disconnect the brake line bracket on the knuckle, as well as our sway bar end link, and then we can get our upper control arm nut. It's a 12 millimeter socket for your brake line bracket. Pop that bracket out, and I'm just going to throw my bolt back in there. And I'll switch to a 17 millimeter socket for my sway bar end link. Now I'm going to grab a pair of needle nose pliers to undo this clip and pop it off. Now you need to pull out this hooked part of the clip to slide that out. And then grab a 19 millimeter socket to loosen up the upper control arm nut. Now if your ball joint is stuck in the knuckle, you can take a hammer on the side of the knuckle here and strike it until it pops free. And once we have that loosened up, I'm going to grab a pry bar. Now I'm going to grab a pry bar to pry down on our upper control arm. fully remove the nut. Now I'm grabbing a 19mm wrench for the bolt side of the upper control arm bolt, and then a 19mm ratcheting wrench on the nut side. Thread that nut the rest of the way off, and your washer. And then comes the fun part of sliding this bolt out. Now this is going to come into contact with the fender here. So you're going to need to grab a pair of vice grips to kind of pull back and bend the metal back so that you have clearance. Now we've done a lot of these already, so ours is pretty bent up. So we should be able to slide this out. And now we can pop our upper control arm out and fish our bolt out. So now we need to get our bushings and sleeves pressed into our new upper control arms so we can get these on the truck. Now I've got my grease gun. I'm gonna get some grease off of that. I'm gonna lube up in here where the bushing's gonna sit. We'll press in our bushings, and then we're gonna lube up the inner part of our bushings as well before we press our sleeves in. I've got a rubber mallet to help me with this. I'm gonna get my bushing in on one side, and we're just gonna hammer that down into place. So I'm gonna get some grease first. Now before I do the second one, I'll mention there is a thicker and a thinner bushing. The thicker is going to be going on the outside and the thinner is going to be on the inside. And now I'm going to get a little bit more grease and grease up where our sleeve's going to slide through. Now we can take our sleeves. We're just going to press and twist to get it started. And then I'm going to bring this down to the table, and I'm going to take that rubber mallet to slide that through. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Twist and push until you get it started, and then bring it down and send it home. And now we can flip this over, and we've got the two spots for our grease fittings. So we're just going to thread those into the threaded holes. And then I'm going to take a 10mm wrench, snug these down. And I'm going to have them facing the ball joint just to make it a little bit easier to grease on the car. So now do the same thing for your other control arm, and we'll get these on the truck. So now we can get our new upper control arm in there. So I've got my bolt. We've got two different size spacers. We've got a thin and a thick. We're going to put the thin onto our bolt. And this thick one's gonna go in between the strut tower and our bushing. So I'm gonna get this bolt fed up into place. I'm just gonna stick it into the hole while I grab my upper control arm. You wanna make sure the other side goes underneath of this bracket, brake line. Once we have the bolt through the bushing, we're gonna grab our thick spacer and get that on the other side. And now we'll get this lined up and get our bolt through. Now we're going to slide our bolt through until it gets to the other side here. And then we're going to slip another one of our big spacers in between. And now I'm just going to take a pry bar. I'm going to get that on the head of the bolt. And then I'm going to take a hammer to tap it to get it to go through. And now we're going to get our thin spacer on the other side and our nut. I'm going to pop our brake line bracket on while we're up here, and then you can thread on your washer and your nut, and then you can thread your nut on, and we're going to take a 10mm socket to tighten that down. Now we're going to leave our upper control arm bolt loose for now until we get our suspension put back together. So now I'm going to reconnect my sway bar end link, slide that through the knuckle. Now I'm going to have to bend the stud out, so I'm just going to use a socket to do that. Now we can thread on our washer and nut. And then we're going to tighten that down with a 22mm swivel socket. Now I need a little bit deeper of a socket, so I'm going to use a swivel adapter and 22mm deep socket on this. Now we can reinstall our sway bar end link. and our brake line bracket. And then grab a 17mm socket for your end link and a 12mm socket for your brake line bracket. And now we're just left with tightening down our upper control arm bolt. Now you're going to want to do this with a load on your suspension so that you don't tear these bushings once you put your truck back down on its weight. So I've got a pull jack underneath the lower control arm. I've put a load onto the suspension to the point where it's about to pick it up off of the lift arm. So now with that load, I'll take my 19mm wrench and ratcheting wrench and tighten that down. Now last thing we need to do is reinstall our covers. So just line up all your clips and pop those into the holes. Once again, we're missing the two down here. And we'll get the one on the other side. We've got the one that goes into the strut tower. And then at this point, you can repeat that same process on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the front upper control arms for 2 to 4 inch lift in red for your 2005 to 23 6-lug Tacoma. Thank you for watching, and for all things Tacoma, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.